No project is complete without deployment. Deployment is the final stage which marks an accomplishment that the project has been completed and deployed anywhere like Azure, third-party tools like GoDaddy, or even IIS. In this section, we'll deploy our final application to Azure, and let's see how that's been done in the next video. Now that our application has completed, it's time to deploy it to Azure. So for that, there are multiple ways to do that, but first thing we'll do is we'll go to Google and we'll search for Azure Portal, and we have the link right here. Here we can just click on Microsoft Azure and we'll do Portal. I have already signed in, so you can sign up and get $200 of free credit where you can try multiple Azure services. So I have my free account set up and I just logged in there. We can make the changes right here, or we can go back to our project and deploy everything from right here. So in order to do that, we'll have to right click and hit publish. Now remember, this is a preview version of ASP.NET Core 3 because it has not been released yet, but it should work exactly with the released version. There is just a couple of more things that we'll do with preview that you won't have to do once it is released, and I will point that out. So right here, we'll select on Create New and we'll hit Publish. Once it does that, it will load the email with your subscription and you'll have to sign in. And once we sign in, it will show us multiple options that we have, and let's continue from that in the next video. And right here you can see it is pre-filling few information. Let me change it. I'll change the name to Uplift Demo. It cannot be underscore. That's good. Then we need a resource group. Let me create a new group for Demo Uplift. There we go. Hosting plan, we'll create a new as well. Demo hosting plan, and the size, we'll take the free one because for the demo purposes this should be sufficient. If you want to explore more, you are more than welcome to do that. Then we also need to create a SQL database. So we'll select on Create a new SQL database. In there, we'll also have to add a database server. Here, let me give a username as admin user and password as admin123 *. Perfect. Let's create the server and let's hit OK. So you can see there are 4 items that will be created on Azure. One will be a hosting plan, then app service, we'll have a database and a SQL server. So we'll create all 4 of them and press the create button. Initially this will take a while because it is setting all of the services that we created on your Azure portal. So if we go back to Azure and refresh, let's go to the databases, and soon we'll be seeing a SQL database here. Now if you prefer, you can create a SQL database here and then use that connection string or use that from Visual Studio. But the easier route is just to configure everything here. Okay, now it's building the project and we'll see the published profile soon once it completes. Let me scroll this down. Great, it's been built here. Right here you see the site URL. We'll be navigating to that, but initially we'll see an error message because we are in the preview version of .NET Core 3. If this was the final release, doing this would have posted your website there. But since we are not on the final version yet, we need to make one more step. And I will show you, but let's wait for this to finish first. Great, we can see the error message on our website as I was talking before because we are in the preview mode. So what we have to do, if we go back, we see our application requires .NET Core Runtime 3 Preview 6 and it says Azure App Service only supports this 4 version. So for that, we'll just do continue here. And once it completes, we have the deployment mode. We'll edit this, and rather than framework dependent, we'll make it self-contained. Then we'll go on the database and we'll use the new connection string for the database that was created. If you go at the end here, we can see the password is correct and also the user ID. Then if you scroll down, the migrations are not being applied because we have another class library where we have the migrations and not inside Uplift. So this looks good. If you go on the site extension options, we can click install ASP.NET Core Site Extensions. And once this is done, we'll hit the save button and we'll publish. After this is published, we will still face a couple of issues because the migrations are not posted on the database. Sometimes you also have to set firewall to allow your IP address to be able to access Azure Cloud Database. So let's see how this goes and we'll work accordingly. Okay, we still see that error message. So now if we go to our SQL database and refresh in Azure, we see our new database. What we can do is we can change the connection string in our project and run the migration. So for that, if we click again on the deployment mode, we have the database. Let me copy this and let's go to our app settings.json file and I'll bring this in right here. Let me just paste that and I'll copy this and paste it here as well, and I'll comment this line out. Now if we open Tools, NuGet Package Manager console, we'll select our data access and we'll type update database. What this will do is it will push all of our migrations to the cloud database. And here I was expecting this error message. You can see the client with IP address is not allowed to access the server. So Azure has security that it does not allow IP addresses to access database directly. So for that, you'll have to click on database here. We went to SQL database and we'll click on our database. In here, we have the set server firewall and we'll add our client IP. When you click on add client IP, it adds your IP addresses to whitelist and we'll hit the save button. Perfect. Once you do that, let's go back now and update the command again. Perfect. You can see the migrations have been applied now. And if we run the application here, this should run. Perfect. You can see the application is running. If you log in, the admin should work. Great. You can see you can log in and you have access to content management where you can add all of the entities. So this is working. Now we need to make sure that we deploy it correctly. So once again, we'll go to the self-contained mode. Here, the database, the connection string looks good. And let's save this and let's publish one more time. Great, we can see the publish is succeeded. Let's try to click on the URL. And great, you can see Uplift and you have the login. But the CSS and everything is not aligned. Let's take a look at that in the next video. Now we have deployed our application, but the CSS is not aligned. And the reason is because if we go back to our project and if we go to our underscore layout inside the shared folder, you can see we have environment for development and exclude development. We need to make sure that all the CSS that we have inside development matches what we have excluded from development. Now here, rather than CDN, you can download them manually and give a reference, but I'll just leave them right now. And we'll scroll down where we have the JavaScripts. We'll copy them and paste them right here. Save them. We'll go back to Uplift or the publish profile and we'll publish it one more time. This time it will reflect all the CSS and JavaScript that we were using in our development. So because of the preview, we had to deploy that as a self-contained application. And while this is publishing, if we go back, that popped up, but right here, let's go to all resources. And right here, you can see multiple resources have been created. Here, you can see the Uplift demo is the app service, Uplift demo DB server is the SQL server, and Uplift demo _DB is the SQL database. And we have the app service plan, which falls under Uplift demo plan. And then let's take a look at the application, and perfect, the CSS is now well aligned. If we go on login, we'll do admin@gmail.com, and perfect, this logs us in and we have the access to everything. So with this, you can see how easy it was to deploy the application on Azure.